Hi, I'm Colin Masson, Director of Research for Industrial AI at ARC Advisory Group, and today I'm here with Steve Blackwell, who heads the Amazon Web Services Center of Excellence for Manufacturing and Automotive. Did I get that right?
Well, close.
Okay.
I specifically look after the Product Engineering and Smart Products and Services Center of Excellence. So.
Okay, great, and thanks for joining us on the executive panel this morning, right? You had a couple of your customers up there saying great things about AWS, Jabil and PepsiCo.
Yep.
Were on stage, and of course Siemens joined you as well, right?
One of our partners, yes.
Yes. So it was a great conversation, but I've got a few questions for you, just to maybe, for those that couldn't attend the session, to maybe just explore some of the themes we talked about. And one of them really is the theme for this forum this year is really about industrial intelligence, almost meeting physical intelligence, right? It's kind of like we've been on a lot of the Gen AI journey, if you will, and lots of pilot projects, but now we're kind of into it's got to return ROI. And of course, you are, as a company, not just AWS, but of course Amazon, are kind of at the forefront of robotics and a lot of that physical intelligence side of the equation. So can you maybe really sketch that out for us a little bit on what are all the things you're doing in and around humanoids are obviously hot, but they're not the only game in town when it comes to robots, so maybe flesh that out.
Yeah, I mean, as I discussed on this morning at the panel, Amazon itself, really started investing in robotics, since 2012 when we bought Kiva, and we've been on a journey since then of looking at how we can use robotics and AI to drive more efficiency in our supply chain and to deliver value back onto kind of our customer. And last year in 25, we hit a major milestone where we've got over 1 million robots deployed, across our fulfillment centers. But we use, robots and AI, across using kind of computer vision to identify where products are actually put away into the shelves, to help, operators in the fulfillment centers be more kind of efficient. But then we use kind of AMRs to move products around. And one of the big announcements last year was Vulcan, where we actually have been developing a robotic solution to actually pick and place products into our shelves, and developing kind of feedback and sensor and touch in areas, something that we've been heavily invested in. But we've taken a lot of those learnings from what Amazon Robotics done and kind of brought it to the AWS side, so that we can now help our manufacturing customers kind of implement that. And that's really around what we call kind of the 5 pillars of physical AI. First pillar is really around about data, bringing the data, the sensor data, the training data up into the cloud. Second pillar is around how we actually build and train those models. The third pillar is around kind of simulation, validating those models can actually work in the real world, in the real applications. Fourth pillar is what we call sim to real, taking those models, deploying them down onto the actual robots or at the industrial edge, and having that closed loop feedback, because you're always going to be taking more sensor data back up into the cloud to continuously train and optimize. And then that fifth pillar is really where we're talking about agents and agentic AI, because it's not just a robot, sitting on its own. It's going to be integrated into an ecosystem of enterprise applications and manufacturing applications. So this is really where kind of agents come in to help kind of orchestrate the overall workflow and deliver the value.
And we've done 3 podcasts now, maybe 4, right?
Yep.
And we did talk, along the way, we talked about these 5 pillars, but we also talked a little bit about a slight pivot you made with some of your AWS services to really support that ecosystem approach. Do you want to talk a little bit about that kind of deprecation of some of the older services?
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at kind of our customers and where we can really add value to our customers. One around is that like condition-based monitoring. We had Amazon Lookout for Equipment is one of our portfolio. We've now taken that capability and kind of merged it into AWS IoT SiteWise. So now customers that are using SiteWise for the industrial IoT data have now native integration for anomaly detection. So that ML model that was standalone is now natively integrated into SiteWise. So we're just constantly looking at what our customers need and helping kind of evolve our portfolio to kind of address those needs.
Right, and you were kind of on stage on the panel with Boston Dynamics, but I'm sure you work with lots of other robotics companies, right?
Yep.
I don't know if you can talk about any of those, but Kiva obviously was a pretty significant acquisition at the time, but you've really opened up your ecosystem so anyone can really integrate any type of robot into their system. Isn't that the new approach? That was kind of what I was hinting at, right?
I mean, we're working with, I would say 3 categories of robotic companies. We have the traditional robotic OEMs. They're obviously looking to develop kind of physical AI kind of capabilities as part of their portfolio of robotic solutions. Second one is startups. There is a lot of new startups in this world, especially around humanoids, but also around providing kind of world models. And then the third one is around actually the manufacturers themselves. They actually have these robotic solutions deployed, and they're actually looking to enhance them, involve them with AI.
Okay, great. I think that helps clarify it. I mean, with all the discussion around AI robotics, and then we talked on our podcast about software-defined, not just automation, but software-defined manufacturing. So maybe, and you started doing it, flesh out more of that ecosystem's the wrong word probably, but that set of services and capabilities that you kind of deliver that really support the future, all the way from kind of co-pilots to agents and how you orchestrate agents to the choice you give customers, I think, across the board on the full AI tool set.
Yeah, I mean, there is, as we said in the panel this morning, AI is a very broad term. There is not one AI capability or solution that meets a customer's needs. So, for customers that are looking to be able to build, then obviously that's where we kind of have Amazon SageMaker. For customers that just want to be able to consume, a marketplace of LLMs and foundational models, that's where Amazon Bedrocks come in. But one of the key things, most manufacturers are not builders. They are buyers, but they really want a low-code, no-code capability to be able to consume these capabilities. So that's where Amazon QuickSuite comes in. Also with Amazon Bedrock Agent Core to really allow them to be able to start building agents to interact with their enterprise systems, for example.
And with this future that we're seeing, and actually in our year-end survey, one of the things that popped out was really there's always been demand for decoupling kind of software and data. Right? How do I make sure I can get at the data, even if it's locked away in PLM systems, is obviously an example we've talked about a lot, where it's hard to get at that data. So when we see companies now talking about, and it comes out in the survey, they really want decoupling of that data so they can use it for whatever AI use cases that they're going to be building in the future. What are you doing to kind of support that kind of decoupling of the data from the applications or the solutions?
I think we've had the industrial data fabric as our main solution for customers to be able to use their industrial data for these applications. And in 2021, when we kind of built out industrial data fabric, it's really around about bringing data into a central location, contextualizing it, building that knowledge graph. And obviously with generative AI and agents really evolving over the last couple of years, especially with MCP as an example, that central data lake, is evolving as well. We don't need necessarily to take the PLM data, from the PLM system and bring it into the data lake. We can put an MCP server in front of that PLM system and then use agents to be able to actually interact with that data without having to kind of move that system record data. So it's really really seen an involvement. And then if we then start to talk about kind of knowledge assistance, the power of being able to have, a knowledge assistant, orchestrate across multiple agents and interact with multiple different systems of record, your PLM, your MES, your SAP, and have that real-time data kind of available is real powerful. So.
All right, so you're supporting kind of, I can't quite call them standards yet, but kind of the evolution of, I think you were one of the first to back up the MCP standard and then kind of build on the A2A that kind of followed it, and then you've got something else called Strands.
Strands, yes.
Right? Can you just maybe give me a thumbnail of what Strands adds to the equation?
Strands is a SDK that allows people to be able to write agents. Initially that was only available in the cloud. At reInvent last year, we actually announced that Strands is now available at the edge as well. So people can actually now not just deploy agents in the cloud to interact with their cloud-based systems, they can now actually deploy agents at the edge to actually interact with the systems at the edge, those industrial applications or even industrial automation systems.
Okay, and you kind of touched on this point earlier, but maybe let's talk a little bit about, because digital twin came up as, from the opening presentation, right? That was really PepsiCo talking about digital twin with Siemens and NVIDIA, both strategic partners for you, and you were thrown in the mix there as well in the panel discussion. So. Talk a little bit more about what is it that you offer around digital twins, simulation, and I guess you could go all the way to Metaverse and beyond if you want to go there, but maybe just sketch out that.
We've been the underlying platform or infrastructure that enables customers to build their digital twins. I think the definition or how customers are actually using digital twins is really evolving at a rapid pace.
Right.
I think it's very much, an operational twin, which we supported with AWS IoT TwinMaker and our partners like, Matterport, for example, for doing, point cloud scans to actually build visualizations of, facilities. Now with, physical AI or physical, intelligence, having to build a real world environment, a digital twin, to be able to simulate those models, either robotics, as an example, is really kind of key. So I think there's two parts to it. Our partnership with kind of NVIDIA, and an underlying kind of capability of using kind of Omniverse and specifically, Isaac Lab and Isaac Sim to be able to build those scenes, create that, synthetic data and be able to run those kind of simulations is kind of, one area that we're really working with our customers to kind of build out. And then, you saw on this morning on stage, Siemens talking about, what they, announced at CES, which with around their digital twin composer, taking JT files out of their team center, bringing that into, their digital twin composer, on AWS to help customers do that as well.
Great, and speaking of customers, I think I did chat with Chase Christensen, did a keynote from Jabil this morning. And he said he was willing to join us on a podcast. So maybe podcast number 5 might be you and I talking with Chase from Jabil. So I'm looking forward to that.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, great. So thanks, Steve. I've been talking with Steve Blackwell from AWS. Looking after their manufacturing and automotive products and strategies in their center of excellence. So thanks, Steve.
Thank you for having me, Colin. Pleasure.